There are a lot of Little Big Planet videos on YouTube, ranging from playthroughs to retrospectives. I like to spend like a considerable amount of time watching through them, mostly because I enjoy the franchise and I definitely enjoy having a thriving community to go with it. In my time watching a lot of Little Big Planet videos that came out recently or a couple of years ago, I ended up going down the rabbit hole of revisiting the story modes of the game. I only really played the mainline games plus Little Big Planet Karting, and as of recently, Sackboy's Big Adventure. So I kind of had this weird relationship in terms of memorability, where there are some that I've seen before, some that I haven't, and some that I just straight up didn't remember. Little Big Planet 1, there wasn't really much of a story there. LBP 3, I remembered some of it. It was definitely there. LBP 2 kind of came in the sweet spot of my life where I was sentient enough to remember it, but not old enough that it wouldn't have any nostalgia factor. In my revisit of it, I got to appreciate and remember aspects I hadn't before, and also think about things in a brand new light. Such as, if you're in the business for overthinking things, some of the plot lines are kinda messed up. Especially everything related to the Sackbots. Sackbots, in the story mode, are repeatedly dehumanized, sacrificed, and mocked. And you might be confused, you might say that they're just robot guys, what are you on about? But that's what Sony wants you to think. I have over 9 pages of Google Doc analysis, and argue I will. I'm gonna be reading only some of it, alright? To start off, I'm calling to the stand the first level we're introduced to the Sackbots. They get whisked away by the Negativitron, and also, it's shown that the enemies you face in the game are just pure, brainwashed, mutated Sackbots. And Victoria explains how she freshly baked them last night. They're 12 hours old, and they're experiencing the most unimaginable horrors. But it's okay, the remaining ones you go to save in the factory of a better tomorrow. This is sort of an illusion of choice for the Sackbots. They're either mind-controlled, forced to be a part of the Negativitron's army, or be set free and forced to be part of the Alliance's army. While there's no explicit scene where the Alliance demands this sort of labor from the Sackbots, the general idea between the characters is that they're made especially for this purpose of fighting for them, and at no point in the story are they asked if they want to get drafted. This is kind of a nothing burger if you're under the pretense that they're just mindless machines. But when you first get to see them in playthroughs, they just run away in terror. You see them possess the ability to freely speak, and they explain, "We were so scared." Okay, no, that's the voice I'm giving them, okay. So, they verbally express how scared they are. This is not only a show of intelligent speech, but also displays a recognition of emotions and ability to communicate them. Some people can't even do that. And the fear is very understandable. They're less than a day old, and they just got spirited away by the final boss that the player hasn't even beat yet. Other characters within the story mode aren't ignorant to the Sackbots' ability to feel. Clive appears quite familiar with their behaviour, describing them as clingy and trusting, and makes an effort to calm them down when he sees them scared. Inside the factory, specifically made for them, he even has whatever this is meant to imply around with them. The general point is that Clive is familiar with the Sackbots and their capabilities in terms of emotions and reactions. This established knowledge makes the fact that the factory has a rubbish tip where B-grade Sackbots get recycled into doorstoppers kinda sour. Once they're recycled, do they maintain their conscience? Or is it just their corpse being paraded now? There's not even a distinction between B-grade Sackbots and other ones. If there even is, it seems like it's determined by some really superficial concept. It's not really fleshed out after you rescue them. While you're doing a training montage, again, in Avalonia, Da Vinci is spending time rehabilitating traumatized Sackbots off screen. This makes Da Vinci seem kind of evil now, because he was generally apathetic to the idea of them getting recycled a couple levels ago. I had a whole mini tangent about Eve's Asylum and the levels there, but it felt kind of disconnected and unhinged by my standards, and it didn't really go anywhere to make a valid point for this video, and we have a lot of other things to get through. So, skipping over a couple stages, we get to see the Sackbots play video games with each other. It's a cute little detail, and in a sort of meta way, they're taking part in enrichment activities the same way the player currently is with this game. There are a couple parts of Huge Spaceship dedicated to fun activities. These can't all be for Sackboy, and the Alliance themselves don't seem too interested in using them. So, obviously they're for the Sackbots, because they're sentient and they get bored like sentient creatures do. Why else would they be there? And then the next time they're really relevant is wartime. Aw, aren't they just like adorable, armed with lethal military weaponry? They're like 3 centimeters tall and they're very, very deadly. Positivitron beans, the fuck are you talking about? That's a gun. You have a gun. They gave them guns, okay. I don't think they're very well built for fighting though, as you watch a gruesome mess of their robotic body parts flying off as they die in brutal combat. Maybe they didn't initially choose to fight, but clearly they did it in the end. One must imagine Cypherus happy, I suppose. Regardless, I kinda assume that would be it, and the details I picked up on just weren't important or didn't go anywhere and just weren't intended by the devs. Sackbots aren't meant to be sentient. We're not supposed to care. I was watching Croco's video for the first time where he ranked LPP DLC. I never had a PlayStation Move, so I didn't know anything about the pack or really saw it before, other than the fact that it had cool items I couldn't have. Like, a solid 40% chance any goodies rewarded to me by the end of a community level was just off limits. Like, every level creator had this DLC except me. This was so bad for me wanting to make pretty nature levels, man. There's a lot to unpack about the PlayStation Move pack. It primarily focuses on the Sackbots. We see they have culture, art, houses, and a sense of community. We meet Steakhouse, he has glandular issues somehow. We see that Sackbots are capable of eating and even host dinner nights for each other. It's not established that they need to eat food to survive. It seems like they do this more for fun and social connection. There's also just Granny Applecore. Just her by herself adds a lot. She had a full career where she retired. She was a riot cop. I don't know why they need riot police, but okay. She has a black belt and a Tetris addiction. You have to go make her touch grass. As a society, Sackbots also have a concept of aging. She is considered old at 24? Wait, no, sorry, 204. This made me go on a tangent because one of the characters makes like a side quip about industrialization causing acid rain. If you take the year the game is set in, as the year the game came out in 2011, Granny Applecore would have been born in 1807. This is in the middle of the Industrial Revolution, and she would have been alive for when acid rain first became an issue. I'm not even sure what I'm trying to put in perspective here, but it had my Google tabs looking like this. We meet a character named Mossrock. He has a son called Monty, who works with Victoria. The plot of the pack revolves around saving them. This obviously shows that the Sackbots have family units, but also opens several questions. Do they physically give birth? Do they celebrate birthdays, or is it more like a built day? Well, obviously nothing in Craftworld is human. In universe, they seem as sentient and alive as the other creator-curator characters are. That settles it, right? So what's the deal with the Puppet Academy? Like with the Move pack, I never really bothered touching the Puppet Academy tutorials, mostly because I already knew how to play the game. LBP3 gets dunked on a lot for various aspects, but I do like the choice of bringing Larry and Victoria back. They're fun characters that work really well for tutorial aspects. I respect the move of Sumo Digital using the work of the studio before them, instead of just completely disregarding it. However, it raises issues that can either be interpreted as retcons/plot holes, or the characters just showing off some evil traits. And I refuse to surrender my analysis this far in, so I'm shooting for the latter. Larry Da Vinci. I can actually make a whole separate video full of the dude's dark moments in the series. But to focus on the Sackbots specifically, he boldly claims that the Sackbots cannot think or feel, so the player wouldn't feel bad about harming them. Maybe this Sackbot is really just a prop dummy, and that would have been somewhat convincing if it wasn't actively shaking in fear. He degrades them by calling them useless for getting stuck, despite him being the one to trap them there. Early in the video, I established he should know better. I don't think this is an out of character moment though, considering when he didn't care about them getting recycled in the factory. This feels almost purposeful. Right here, he is deriving active joy from their torment. I don't think anyone else in the world really cares that much about this, but I genuinely find Victoria specifically to be quite out of character as a whole throughout her dialogue here. Her treatment of the Sackbots in the Puppet Academy is not outright cruel. It was neutral, it was fine even, until the very last level. She refers to them as mindless automatons and is unmoved by discussion of how they are often mistreated. This is oddly morbid for her, considering the Sackbot village is basically at her doorstep. The village even actively used some of her inventions. Silver lining is that as long as the player gets everything right, no Sackbots are harmed in this level. I'm not really sure how to summarize all my points now. I feel like I've supplied enough evidence of how the Sackbots are sentient species within Little Big Planet. It just appears canonically other story mode characters don't recognize this or just outright ignore this. Either accidentally or on purpose, this supplies Little Big Planet with some dark moments. If you love to overanalyze the story mode of a Peggy 7 PS3 game. Alright, my fellow humans, I definitely appreciate you making it this far into the video. If you want to send me death threats, the comment section will remain open. I would also appreciate it if you went into the description to check out the creators whose content I might have used in this video, as well as the artist for the sprites that I'm using. She's very talented and I recommend that you check her out. Go show everyone some love. Bye bye!